All right, looks like we are ready to go here. So welcome everyone. My name is Eben, and welcome to my weekly Sunday live stream where I essentially just get to painting some stuff here on Photoshop and talk a little bit about my process and answer questions and comments in the chat there, chat with people about art, all kinds of fun stuff. Listen to interesting, relaxing, sometimes very invigorating fantasy music while I do that. And yeah, let's see what's going on here. I think we won't have the issues with the stream this time. I hope. I've messed with some settings on the OBS, so hopefully you won't be experiencing any lag or anything like that, but please let me know if you are. And otherwise, we're just going to jump in here, and I don't really know what I'm going to paint today, actually, but we're just going to hop in and see what happens. All right. So, oh yeah, by the way, feel free to shout out any suggestions or requests you have in the chat there, and let me know if you have any ideas about what you want to see painted here today. Otherwise, I'm just going to kind of dive in here and do my usual thing and start with some random shapes and stuff. So, all right. So I got my tablet. I don't know. Let's just dive in here, see what happens. Pop my colors layer or panel back in here. Start out with some. I don't think about the canvas size here. Maybe I'll do something. I could try something interesting. Do something a bit wider here. Let's try that. I feel like I usually stick to a very kind of normal canvas size. Very vanilla. So let's get a bit wild with it. It's a bit wider. We could let's go crazy. Let's really go even wider than that. It's almost it's a little over 1x2 dimensions. So we're gonna make a vast landscape scene here, I think. Got my green tea. This is actually a mug I created in college when I was doing a lot of ceramic stuff. It was really fun, man. I love working with ceramics. I actually haven't in a while because I don't really have the studio space for it. And there was a studio here in Burlington where I was able to where I could potentially work, but right now I think they have things shut down, and I'm just focusing on the digital art today, or these days, because I don't know, I really enjoy it. It's just kind of a fun way to do things. So I'm going to dive right in here, try out a few different brushes here. I'm probably going to drop this resolution down a little bit, actually, just so we can get some a little bit better performance here from these brushes. Yeah, and once again, please let me know if there are any issues with the quality of the stream. I guess we were having some trouble with that last time, so hopefully we won't run into it again. YouTube's telling me that my stream quality is poor once again, so that might be not a good sign. We'll see, though. So I'm just kind of starting in here with some random shapes and colors here. I'm not really sure where I want to go with this, but I'm kind of generally creating some perspective lines, stuff like that. sort of experimenting. I'm sort of alternating between my mixer brush and my a thick dry paintbrush here, which is really nice. Adds a lot of texture as we work here. By the way, if you want to check out these brushes, I've included a link to my brush pack in the description below, and it's a lot of fun. I've had a lot of really good responses to that so far. And of course, if you want to look into doing one-on-one work or any kind of lessons with your artwork, you can check out the link to that as well. You can sign up for one-on-one lessons where we do paint overs and lessons and sort of create a custom plan for your artwork. That's pretty fun. It's a good way to improve. Just finished up the group session, which I had a small number of students that were sort of going through this 4-week program and submitting work each week and getting feedback, and we would meet and do. I think I'm going to wait a little bit before I offer the next one, but keep an eye out for that. Also, if you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel as well. That would help me out quite a bit. It's been really cool. I've been seeing a lot of awesome growth here. A lot of new people that are interested in checking out art and learning digital painting, that kind of thing. Or just, I've had a couple people, I think it was like Jose, he was talking about just like listening to this, when you wake up or while you're doing your practice, wherever this fits into your day. It can be just like a nice way to kind of tune in, watch some painting, hang out, and listen to this relaxing music here. Sometimes it's sometimes it gets very intense. For now, we're just kind of chilling. We're gonna see where the soundtrack leads us. Where these colors lead us too. I'm pretty interested in what's happening here. Not a conventional lighting or color scheme as usual. Pretty quiet on the chat today. So it's interesting. Different vibe, Probably just end up settling a bit more into the painting process here today, which is nice. I can produce some more focused results than if I'm chatting with people the whole time. I'm really liking this so far. Looks like there could be some potential for like a water source here, or some kind of misty thing, some kind of interesting light source. Maybe I'll dip into some of those cooler colors here. But yeah, feel free to hop in and ask any questions or leave a comment or request for anything. Just say hi, introduce yourself if you're new here. Ooh, I'm just actually just starting to see starting to see things here. That's what we want. Starting to see a bit of light hitting the foreground. And sort of maybe a little bit over here, you know. Some sort of dappled sunlight, and then in the back here it's all shadows and cool tones, and just sort of reflecting this other bluish light source, whatever it is. We don't know yet. I'm even having some ideas about going in and shaping some of these. Oh, what if that was snow? I could totally see that. Why would it be? I don't know. It's like everything else seems like it's kind of like a fall pattern here, but I got this glimpse of possibility of snow here. So I'm gonna kind of see where that leads me. Can be kind of like a mountain pass. If we had like just a bit of light coming through here. I'm thinking of the that pass in what was it? I think it was Return of the King, where they go up to the top of the that cliff ledge there, and they see the cleft in the rock where all the ghosts are. Although maybe we won't. It'll be a little bit less of a spooky thing and more of kind of like an intriguing thing. Kind of left wondering what's going on here. Some cooler tones going on with the rocks and everything back here. I'm gonna flip the canvas, see if it still makes sense from this perspective. I guess there's still the possibility that it's not snow, it could be like a waterfall or something like that. Only time will tell. Got some really nice colors in here though. Gotta get that rhythm. The tapping rhythm. It's key. Yeah, this can go all the way down here. We got a nice path going from... Oh, I can see it very clearly. This is pretty cool. I don't know, sometimes it's hard to see exactly what you're painting for for a while. I'm like having a very clear impression of what's going on, especially right here in the middle. I don't know if it's if you guys can see it yet. But I'm just gonna try to stick to that. Stick to that vision. See if it carries through. Hey Justin, welcome. Justin is asking, how do you stay motivated to paint? I work healthcare, and this pandemic has seriously impacted my art. It's made me so incredibly demotivated to want to continue painting. That's a great question, and it's one that I get a lot, actually. I've definitely noticed a lot of artists struggling, especially now. I mean, if they didn't have a problem before, they probably do now, because it's a tough time to be creative and motivated for anything. So I do have a video on this as well. If you want to check that out, I go a little bit more in depth into some specific processes, some specific techniques you can use to tackle this on my channel. But the short answer to that question is, let me just take a moment to think about this. Because it's like, I know it's myself so reflexively at this point, but it's, I have to be able to put it into words. We all paint or draw or make art for our own reasons, but presumably because you enjoy it in some way or have at one point. I mean, if it's something you've never enjoyed in your life, you probably wouldn't be concerned about trying to practice it. It's worth asking yourself too. I mean, is it something you actually enjoy? Because for most people, the answer is yes, or at least yes, at some point in my life, I have enjoyed it. But I don't know. There's a small number of people too that persistently try to create art when they don't actually enjoy the process. But I think anybody can enjoy the process and should. It's just a matter of getting to that place and focusing on that enjoyment versus the expectation of results. And so there are different strategies you can use to reacquaint yourself with that process. So, in the video that I was just talking about on my channel there, I talk about auto drawing or auto painting. That's sort of one way to get into the process. And I've done a little bit of that in this stream here. We just you really just sit down, commit to maybe 20-30 minutes at a day. Nothing too big. Don't have any big ideas for a big project you're going to create. Just sit down, get a blank canvas, and just start putting marks down. And really focus on allowing yourself to do that without creating expectations for what you're creating, and without having any ideas about what you want to create during that time. Remain open to what the painting is suggesting to you. When I sat down and started this, I had no idea what this was going to be. I just started putting marks down on the canvas, and eventually, like I was just alluding to, I just start to see things there and some ideas, and I will start to follow that, but I won't go in too far to try to impose my will on the painting. I'm just sort of letting it happen very naturally. And that's a really key to being able to, if you've lost or become disconnected with the painting process and the enjoyment of the painting process, that's a really great place to start. Step one is just sit down. Just get in front of the page or the sketchbook or whatever it is, or your computer or your iPad or whatever you use, whatever you find yourself most comfortable with. Just sit down, put a timer on for 20-30 minutes, or just tell yourself that's what you're gonna put the time in, and really just start putting things down, pay attention. My guess with you, Justin, is as I've experienced myself, you may start putting things down and immediately feel this resistance, immediately feel judgment about what you're creating, and that maybe it's not flowing well, or it's not looking good, or you're not inspired. And just see that, notice it, and just allow that to to be, essentially, and just continue. Those thoughts will fade out eventually. And the more you practice this kind of painting or drawing or whatever it is, the easier it's going to be to just quickly move past those thoughts. I have those thoughts all the time while I'm painting, but I've learned to recognize them and appreciate them as a critical voice that will help me improve my painting, but understand that it's not useful in that time. In short, don't expect yourself to be able to sit down and create a masterpiece. It's really simple. It requires very little commitment. Just put yourself in front of whatever medium you are using, and let things happen from there. And do that consistently. See if you can find 2 or 3 days, or even every day, at a certain time when you feel the most relaxed or open, or just the most creatively inclined. For some people, it's later on in the day. Like for me, I feel really strongly creative later on in the evening, after dinner and everything, and after the work of the day is done. For some people, it's in the morning. Pay attention to when you really have that creative potential. The simple answer is just getting down and doing it. Obviously, if you're working a lot, like you work in the healthcare industry, that's a time-consuming thing. And, maybe if you don't have time for it, maybe you don't have time, but it doesn't take much, 10-30 minutes. I mean, if you have time to maybe, watch a show on Netflix at the end of the night, you have time to, do a little sketching. It's just a matter of figuring out how you're using your time and where you want to prioritize things. And sometimes that means, letting go of perhaps maybe watching that movie, or getting sucked into YouTube, or scrolling on your phone. Because that, usually if you look at your day, that time does exist, and you can make it happen. Welcome, Michael. I think I'm, let me know if I'm pronouncing that right. And Inez, glad you caught this one. Welcome. So, let's see, Michael is asking, hi, how could I give that feeling to the paint when you say make it more intriguing than spooky to make the winter feel you want, right? So you're asking kind of how I can sort of shape the mood of the piece as I'm going forward to make it less of a spooky or threatening thing, and more of a kind of intriguing or interesting thing here. Part of that has to do with the color choices. I think generally spooky things are a bit darker and duller, moodier, that kind of way. So I would probably use, and also there, maybe a little more fog and mistiness around here. I think as it stands, it's kind of neutral. It's a very cool light, so cool lights tend to be they're not quite as happy and warm, whereas a lot of this warm sunlight I'm using in the foreground is not really spooky at all. So I don't know. There could be. It's like I said. It's kind of neutral at this point. It could kind of go either way. But as it stands, I'm using some of these saturated blues. And my shapes are not really super threatening. They're just kind of round and calm and solid. And there's it's sort of uncertain. And I guess the more you paint, the more you get an idea for of sort of what things produce what moods and effects like that, and study other artists' work too. Like if you see a painting that's like oh man, that's super creepy, take a minute to examine that and figure out exactly why that is. Yeah. Yeah. No problem, Justin. I appreciate your question. Uh, and I'm glad you found the my artwork inspiring. That's what I hope it will be for people. And yeah, I mean, having a goal to do a painting once a week is fine, and it's just it's all about you and what you can do. And if you find that's unrealistic for yourself, just keep an eye on that. And you know, the last thing you want to do is create another expectation, another stress for yourself. Um, but it's good to remind yourself that painting is actually a great way to unwind and relax, and especially if you get used to approaching it in that way, in that sort of non-judgmental way, and just really, really immersing yourself in the process. You'll find it becomes a lot easier to maintain that practice because you'll look forward to it. You can have a whole, like for me, I have a bit of a ritual around it at the end of the night. After I've done all the work for the day and I've had dinner and all that. I know like what the scene looks like. I make myself some tea. I know I've got like a audiobook or a podcast, something that I really enjoy listening to. I have this chair, that I only use for creating art, really. It's just like, it's a chair I know I can sit in for a while and not feel strained or anything. It's just like, it's a whole process. And I know, like, if I ever feel resistance of like, oh, I don't know if I can paint right now, I kind of envision that. I'm like, oh, you know what? I think that would actually be really nice. I think that would be a great way to end this day. So, and then it's a bit easier to get in that mindset. Hello, hello. Welcome, Mahardika. Yeah, it's a great point, Inez, and I appreciate the writer's perspective there as well. Because, right, we all have creative pursuits, and this is just one of them. And I think a lot of it, no matter what you're doing, for me, comes down to habit, and really deliberately creating habits for yourself, and sort of creating cues and associations with that throughout the day. There's a good book I'd recommend, Atomic Habits by James Clear. Because if you want to develop a regular practice for anything, the skill set is essentially the same. But I know, specifically how to adjust my painting technique as well to make it a more enticing experience. And that's why I do it at the end of the day after I've done all my other work, because I don't want to mix my painting practice with like my part of my job is to create artwork for people throughout the day. So I want to separate that from my practice, because with doing the professional artwork, there are these expectations and deadlines and all that kind of stuff, and it's a bit more regimented. And I want to make sure I don't lose sight of the process and the joy of the craft beneath that, because that's why I'm doing this in the first place. That's why I decided to make this my career, is because I knew fundamentally I enjoyed the process, but regardless of who you are, I think just as adults and as conscious beings, we have to be deliberate about maintaining that enjoyment in everything we do, really. But painting is just one example of something we have to deliberately cultivate, or the practice of enjoying it. So I think back to the painting here. Overall, I think I'm it's got some nice forms starting here. I'm gonna kind of go in and introduce some shadow values here and there just to help sculpt this a little bit. Create some distinctions between these different planes. Maybe introduce some warmer greens here and there. Kind of like the idea of having this sort of fall-ish, this autumnal foliage. There we go. That's a great word. Actually, just gonna move my color picker down here because it's a bit easier to access. Maybe I won't do that over here because I don't want to make this area too distracting. Yeah, do check out that video, Justin, on auto drawing on my channel. I think it's called Improve Your Practice and Move Past Motivation with Auto Drawing. It's a useful practice, and I go into a bit more detail there about how you can actually go about doing it. But yeah, I mean, essentially, you're going in without an expectation of what you want to create, and I think that's something a lot of creatives and artists already struggle with prior to this point. But when they don't, when the stresses of the pandemic and everything contribute to that, or sort of reinforce that, it becomes a bit more difficult. But yeah, I mean, I myself definitely struggled with this for many years of and I sort of talk about this a little bit as well with the emails I send out to people on my email list. But yeah, I mean, for many years, I couldn't really bring myself to make artwork because I really wanted to create something good, and I would rarely put the time in, and then when I did, I would immediately become frustrated with what I had created because it just failed to meet the crazy high expectations that I had been building around my art practice, especially because I had always been moderately good at it. And when I reached a point where I couldn't just ride on my pre-existing talent anymore, it was a struggle because I realized I didn't at the time, but I realized later it was really important for me to just develop good habits and good practice around it, and deliberately cultivate enjoyment of the process. So I get it. But yeah, there are ways around it. And human beings are remarkably adaptable. And even when it comes to things like creativity, we can change our relationship to the craft. I'm going to switch up my brushes a little bit here now. Usually for the first 30 minutes of a painting, I'm really only using a handful of 1 or 2 brushes or something like that, but I think now since I'm getting into a bit more sculpting, a bit more shaping, a bit more detailing, I'm just use some other things here. Create some little indications of little snow patterns here. It's pretty cool. It kind of just makes me wonder, like, what's in there, you know? Is this like a whole different world of that's like with a different temperature, different natural laws? Or is it just something natural that popped up here? I don't know. It's interesting. It just reminds me of like Narnia or something, where you step through this gate and you enter a different world. Pretty cool. Yeah, man. I think that's another thing artists and creatives often forget is your baseline creativity depends upon your health, and you know there's really no point. And I've tried, and I've made the mistake too of attempting to push myself to accomplish creative projects while really not taking care of myself. And it just doesn't work. It's just not the way. This is not the way life works. You have to put that on pause for a minute and prioritize your health and get yourself to a homeostasis, a balance for yourself before you can have the energy. It's creative things like this, painting, and it can be therapeutic sometimes, but I don't think it can really be relied on as a therapy if you're not taking care of your basic needs, like drinking water and getting sleep, and having social relationships, and taking care of yourself, getting good nutrition. That's super important. All those things I feel like people tend to forget, because there's like this ethos about the the creative person, where they're supposed to be like this like chaotic like mess, like like just drinking and staying up all night, never sleeping, and just like living this rock star lifestyle. And I don't know, man. I tried it. It's just not sustainable. You can get some cool stuff from in that mindset. You can create some interesting things. You'll also probably crash and burn pretty quick, and it's not a great way to build a career, or to build a life, really, in my experience. But so yeah, take care of yourself. Don't worry about painting. Will always be there. It's not gonna go away. Just take care of yourself, get yourself feeling good, and then you can come back to painting, and it'll be happy to have you back. Hello, welcome Zizzy. Welcome Ernesto. Nice to have you here. We've just been talking about getting motivation for painting, and struggling to find that, especially during these particular times. I was just saying that you can't force yourself to create when you're not taking care of yourself or feeling good otherwise, or feeling healthy. I mean, you can, but it's just gonna be harder to. You're gonna run into some difficulties, and you might even start to think it's the fault of the painting or the fault of the process. You might think, well, painting's just not for me because it's not really working right now, and sort of forget that maybe you just haven't eaten a good breakfast, or maybe you just didn't get the sleep you needed. That kind of stuff. It's important. Hey, Jose, welcome. Good to have you here. I'm actually going to find a couple references here, because I don't do that enough in my live streams. And I don't want to give people the impression that I'm always working without references. I never remember to bring them up for the live stream, but I have a reference pack from was it like photorefs.com? They keep coming out with these free reference packs. It's really cool. You should check them out. Where did I put it though? There it is. I think it would be useful. Just gonna put them all in PureF here. Yeah, use references. It's awesome. Oh, this isn't the one I was thinking of. Let me go back here. There's another one. All right. Right. Are we back here? That was weird. No, that was me. My streaming thing disconnected. I don't know why. It's also telling me there's only one person. There's only one viewer right now, which I don't believe, because there are still people chatting. I don't know. We'll see. The internet. I was just finding some references, and so now we're just going to wow, that's a lot of references. It's probably more than I need, but let's go to images, normalize by height. We can let's see, we can go to uh-oh. What are we doing, PureF? I don't want to save right now. Stop it. Cancel. All right, let me try that again. I just want to arrange optimal. Sick. Wow, that's a lot of nice references there. And let's go ahead and just let's go into this one for a second. or oh, I like that. Let's check these out. Right. Yeah, normalize, so you can normalize them by height or by width, so they all kind of, even regardless of the resolution, they will end up the same size. And then you can arrange them to make them all look nice together. Your effort's great, man. All right, so I'm gonna pop this color thing back over here so we have some room. I'm gonna get some nice dramatic lighting on this area here. So I'm gonna use some of this as a reference. We've got a foliage brush here. Let's whip that out. See what it can do. Looks like we want some very intense oranges here. Maybe a bit lighter in value. Yeah, these foliage brushes are sometimes a hit or miss, but we'll go back in later and kind of make that look a bit more. Or was I gonna? Oh no, you know what? I just realized I was doing my. Maybe I wasn't. I think I was doing my light source differently at the beginning. No, it's coming up. Yeah, it was coming in from this side. Yeah, that looks pretty horrible. But I'm just gonna stick with it for a minute here before I go and do anything else. All right, that's enough of that. It's going against all of my creative impulses here. Have some cast shadows from all this. Let's try that. Let's break out our lasso tool. Just as we're seeing in the our reference image there. And let's use this digital brush. That's kind of fun. Give it a bit of a bluish tone here and just go in there, create some shadows. Maybe a bit of texture. Where's our texture at? Take our mixer and just blend. I know this music is great. This one might get pretty intense, so hold on, guys. The music. It's just a bunch of stock music I downloaded from Epidemic Sound. I think some of it's from YouTube, the YouTube stock library, but it's great, right? Let me get some greens in here too. Just balance everything out. Hey Sam, welcome. Yeah, it looks like we're having some trouble with the stream once again, so I apologize for that. Do let me know if that changes as we move forward here. Alright, that may have fixed it. Let's wait a minute and see. I'm just gonna keep painting here. Thanks for all of you for giving me the feedback on the stream here. It says it's a good connection now, but who knows. All right. Yeah. Once again, I'm sorry about that, guys. Just checking out the stream settings and everything, and seeing if that's affecting anything. I think I may have cleared it up, but I'm gonna have Sam. You're gonna be my tech guy here. Just keep me posted on how it's looking.